Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Felicia, a small business owner and illustrator based in France, and I thought I would go back onto all the steps I took to launch my small business. Now I did a couple of mistakes, so I really want to tell you what they were and how to avoid them. Hopefully this video will be useful for some, and I also hope this will help break down everything into clear steps, because launching a small business can seem super intimidating and a lot of people are just pushing it back and thinking it's not for them, but I cannot emphasize enough how it's such a gratifying experience. So hopefully this can help you out. So for a little bit of context, I like drawing cute animals that are kind of quirky and whimsical, and also a lot of pop culture and queer references. I produce everything myself, and I do a lot of stationery, so stickers, prints, and very recently I started also making my own notebooks, but I'm also specialized in doing laser engraving. The idea is to bring more fun and whimsy into your daily life with products you don't usually think too much about. So I engrave my fun drawings onto coasters, trivets, cooking utensils, a bunch of different things to bring more art to your life and hopefully make things a little bit more interesting. A quick rundown of my business is that in 2021 I opened my Etsy shop. At that time I only had stickers and prints on there, and I didn't really know what I was doing, so there's a couple of mistakes I did while running my small business, but it's mainly that I didn't have time to focus and on my tattoo career and on my illustration career. Then in 2023, I decided to really focus on doing illustration. I attended a bunch of markets and conventions for that. A year later, I left Etsy to go onto Squarespace, have my own website, and as of 2026, I am now on Shopify, and it has been the best decision. My sales really have gone up. I've started really focusing and having a more clear strategy for running my online shop. So let's be clear, this is not a video about how to make over 10K a month. This is more a video breaking down all the steps for launching your business, how to have it set up for success, and advice I wished I would have followed sooner when I started my own business. I'll go through all the admin part, the branding, setting up your strategy, and also getting your website up. Enough yapping, and let's get right to it. Before you even start selling anything online, there's a couple of kind of boring but crucial things to do. I highly recommend you do not skip those steps. The first one being is figuring out your legal registration. Find yourself a brand name that is relevant to what you do. For myself, I just went for my username because I already started to have a following online, and check if there's not a similar business that has a same name, because you really don't want to go through the hassle of that happening. And then you're going to want to look into your country's regulations for setting up a small business. Those steps will vary country to country. I'm based in France. It might not be relevant for you, but it really wasn't as scary I thought it would be. It's actually pretty simple. You just look it up online, fill up a couple forms, and you're done. Then you're going to want to get yourself a domain. Now, this is just the handle of your website. You're going to want to buy it as soon as possible. I went through Namecheap and I have bought feliciel.org. I didn't go for a .com nor a .fr because those were so much more expensive. I really recommend you to go with what feels right, and also that isn't too expensive, since this is a monthly fee. And also make sure you have it on auto renew. Some people have fun buying domains that recently expired in the hopes of selling them for very, very expensive. You don't want that to happen, so just auto renew everything and it'll be fine. The next step that I did personally was to get branded email. So I took my domain name and I linked it to Fastmail. Essentially, I get all the emails that are towards something at feliciel.org. It looks 1,000 times more professional. It's also very practical because I can organize all my emails. I can have orders at feliciel.org, and I can also have like support at feliciel.org. Now let's be real, this is not a key priority for your business. It can be done later down the line. It's just an extra step to continue your branding and look professional. You can very much start with a Gmail address. It's free. There's no problem. It's more a thing of when you grow, it'll just bring legitimacy to you and help stay organized. Now, one thing you should not skip is to secure your social media handles ASAP. And that's the thing that I did not do. You need to go on all social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, etc., and create an account with your business name. Try to have the same handle for everything. You don't need to be posting on those platforms, but just create the account so that the day you will want to, you will already have your handle nice and secure. And that's where you don't want to be like me, because here on YouTube, I'm Feliciel. On Instagram, I'm Feliciel_Inc. On TikTok, I'm Feliciel_. And it just doesn't really make sense. Try to have the same username everywhere. Then comes the more fun and creative part, which is building your brand identity. That comes through making your logo. Now you're going to want to think this one through because you're going to be stuck with it for a while. I think it's important to think what's the vibe you want your business to have. For myself, I really try to focus on having cute whimsy things. So that's why I went for a cat head since I do a lot of animals, and I varied the colors to fit more my brand colors, and that way it's immediately recognizable. I did change my logo once since I started because it just wasn't in the same vibe I was going for. Just try not to change it too often because that's how people recognize you. If you're an artist, that's pretty easy to do, and otherwise you can really easily make one with Canva nowadays. But in any case, you should really think thoroughly and sit on your design for a while before committing to it. Then comes the color scheme. This is a step that is very underestimated, and it's such a shame. You really want to have everything in a cohesive palette. Your social media, your website, your branding, your packaging, all these things just levels up your business so much if it's all logical and cohesive. Each time you're gonna need to buy something for your business, a decor, business cards, all those things, really try to stick to this color palette as much as possible. At markets and conventions, I really slapped blue and purple everywhere on my stall as much as possible, and that's what makes me stand out. I recommend sticking to 4 colors, and you're going to want to have light colors and dark colors because you're going to want it to stay legible with light or dark backgrounds. I also have a little tip for you when you make Instagram stories. If you want it to stay in your branding colors, when you make text boxes, make sure you have a sticker that you saved with your 4 branding colors, and that way you can just easily color pick it each time. I swear it's so easy. It takes 1 second to do it, and I feel like it elevates my stories a little bit. Then you're gonna want to see what is your niche and who is your target audience. That's a thing I always hear everyone talk about, but it is so hard to figure out, let's be real. For myself, it kind of just naturally happened. I guess I would say my target audience is young adults, queer people, and people that are really passionate about pop culture that grew up in the 90s or 2000s, since those are the people where my work will resonate most with. It's not something you need to figure out on day one, but it's still something you should reflect on it later down the line because it's useful to know how you'll be doing your marketing, what markets and conventions you should accept depending on your demographic that you aim to have. So once you have all this figured out, you need to see what is your strategy. I would say there's 3 popular ones. The first one being selling online. It's fairly slow to build your clientele, but I would say it's the one that is most cost effective. Then you can attend in-person events, so art markets, conventions, etc. Those are great for building a community, have direct feedback on your products, but it's really intense and there's more risk of not earning your fees back. And the third option would be to accept commissions and do custom orders, but that's really time consuming. And it's also hard to build your clientele for this. Try to stick to one at the beginning because you don't want to spread yourself too thin. For myself, I do a mix of kind of everything. However, I've been trying to focus more on selling online recently since markets kind of burnt me out, and I accept a couple of custom orders when I have more time. If you choose to do an online shop, which I highly recommend, you're gonna want to choose a platform. I'll make an entire separate video on this. I've tested Etsy, Squarespace, and Shopify, and what I would recommend is starting on Etsy. It makes sense to start with Etsy when you don't have that much following and you don't think you'll have clients directly, since there is a built-in marketplace and no monthly fee in the case you don't make any orders. However, you should really leave Etsy as soon as you start building your own clientele, since they take really high fees. So when you're gonna wanna have your own website, I recommend going on Shopify. I kind of of regret having gone with Squarespace for so long, but that's just how it is. I can't go back in time. And that's because Shopify is really built for selling online. It's really ideal for scaling your business. So even if you start small, you can easily grow and level up your website much more easily. And that's because there are so many free apps on Shopify, and it can just really level up your client experience. On your website, there's a couple things you're going to want to keep in mind. In your homepage, it should be kind of clear who you are and what you do. Have an About Me page that goes more into detail for this. I feel like it's really important because it creates a connection with your clients and also builds a lot of trust. You're also going to want to make your terms and policies. Now, this is really important, and a lot of people don't do this, but essentially, this is what differentiates yourself from being a scam. It is a legal requirement anyways, and it's the way that people know that you are legit. There's a bunch of templates online, and you should also look at your country requirements. Then you need to set up your product listing, so title, description, which really needs to go in detail. Put as much of information as possible. That's what reassures clients as well. If you're in Europe, you also need to be compliant with GPSR laws. I'll let you do your research on what that is. I would also advise having all your social media links, kind of like Linktree, on your own website. That way, people are already on your platform, and you can also add more branding to it. And I would say my key advice for when you make your own website is to focus on it being good on mobile view. I was so surprised to see how little people care about looking at a website on their computer. So you want to mainly focus on it being user-friendly and clear on mobile view. And then you're going to want to have product photos. There's a bunch of tutorials. I recommend just having good lighting and try to have your branding in your product photos as well. I just bought a bunch of huge colored sheets of my branded colors, and it just helps to be a little bit more cohesive as well. With your website, you also need to figure out your shipping. You're going to want to start with domestic since it's much easier and there's less options to set up. Have your flat and small items shipped as letters. It's so much cheaper. Then also try looking up into locker and pickup points since those also offer cheaper shipping usually. I personally do weight-based shipping since I don't really care about making a profit off of the shipping, but I don't want it to cost me as well. If you want to do international orders, research per country. Different carriers will have different rates, sometimes per country. And that's the important part, which is import duties. I have a bunch of warning on my website saying if you're ordering outside the EU, be aware that there will be import duties probably, and to check your country regulations for that. Put it in your description, your FAQ, your shipping policies, etc. because you don't want to have angry customers that are unhappy from being charged extra. It's something that I, as a small business, can't do much about. The best I can do is just to warn my clients. And then you'll want to research how to do the declaration and all the paperwork that kind of needs to be done when you do international shipping. And the very last tip I have for you is to test your website before going live. A bunch of different websites will offer you to go on test mode, which allows you to put in orders without being charged. That way you can check if the shipping is calculated correctly, if you have bundle deals or discounts, if they're working correctly as well. This will save you so much stress. It's something I did not do, and I had to run all over the place to try and scramble and find solutions when I would have a client send me a DM telling me there was a problem, which is not ideal and so stressful. That kind of sums up everything, but I still want to give one last piece of advice, and it's to manage your expectations. You probably will not be swarming under orders directly, and that's completely fine. We see so many success stories online that I guess it can set up our expectations way too high. Having a slow but steady growth is good. That way you can figure out how to launch your business at your own pace, see what products work and what doesn't, and try different marketing strategies to see what fits you. So if you've been wanting to launch your small business, I highly recommend that you do it. It is a scary process, but trust me, it is so gratifying to know that people want to support your work directly. If you want to see more of my products, you can check out my online shop. The link is in the description. And if you like this video, feel free to like it, and you can also subscribe to see more art and small business content. And I really hope that this video helped you, motivated you, anything that could potentially make you want to launch your own small business. Thank you for watching. Bye bye!